There's one belief about cancer and sugar that has been repeated for years, yet often causes unnecessary fear and confusion. You probably heard someone say, sugar feeds cancer, so if you have cancer, you should avoid every sweet food, even fruit. While that idea sounds convincing, it doesn't tell the whole story. The truth is much more complex. Simply removing sugar from your diet will not stop cancer from growing. In fact, your body needs glucose every single day to keep your brain, muscles, immune system, and other organs working properly. So, if avoiding sugar isn't the answer, what should cancer patients really focus on when it comes to nutrition? Let's break down the science in a simple and practical way. First, it's important to understand where this popular myth came from. Like many health myths, it started with a real scientific observation, but eventually became oversimplified. Every cell in a human body depends on glucose for energy. Glucose is the body's primary fuel source, and healthy cells use it constantly to perform their normal functions. Cancer cells also need glucose, but they often consume it faster than many healthy cells because they tend to grow and divide more rapidly. Doctors actually use this fact in modern medicine. One of the imaging tests commonly used in cancer care is called a PET scan, short for positron emission tomography scan. During this procedure, a patient receives a small injection containing a special form of radioactive glucose. Once it's in the bloodstream, the scan tracks where that glucose travels throughout the body. Since many cancer cells absorb glucose more quickly than surrounding tissues, they often appear as brighter areas on the scan. This helps doctors locate tumors, evaluate how active they are, and monitor how well treatment is working. This is an important point because many people misunderstand what the scan actually proves. A PET scan does not show that eating sugar causes cancer to grow faster. It simply shows that cancer cells, like many other active cells in the body, use glucose as fuel. Healthy tissues also rely on glucose every day. Your brain, your muscles, your heart, and your immune system all require a steady supply of energy to function properly. Without glucose, these vital systems cannot perform their normal jobs. So what happens if you completely eliminate sugar from your diet? Many people assume that cancer cells will simply run out of fuel. But that's not how the human body works. Your body has powerful survival mechanisms designed to keep your blood sugar within a healthy range. Even if you stop eating carbohydrates or sugar altogether, your body can actually produce its own glucose. Most of this process takes place in the liver through a natural metabolic pathway known as gluconeogenesis. The name may sound complicated, but the concept is simple. Your body creates new glucose from other nutrients whenever necessary. This process helps ensure that your brain and other essential organs always receive the energy they need. In other words, your body works very hard to maintain stable blood sugar because glucose is essential for life itself. That's why completely removing sugar from your diet does not starve cancer in the way many people believe. Your body continues making the glucose it needs regardless of whether it comes directly from food or is produced internally. Once glucose is available, the hormone insulin helps move it from the bloodstream into cells where it can be used for energy. This is a normal biological process that occurs in everyone. Current scientific research has not shown that simply avoiding sugar will stop cancer growth. In fact, cancer cells can often adapt to different energy sources if glucose availability changes. Researchers have found that tumors may switch to using other nutrients under certain conditions, making the relationship much more complicated than the common myth suggests. So instead of focusing only on sugar, scientists are paying much closer attention to other factors that truly influence cancer development and progression. These include chronic inflammation, the growth of new blood vessels that supply tumors with nutrients, and the strength of the immune system's ability to recognize and destroy abnormal cells. These are areas where overall dietary patterns may play a much more meaningful role than simply removing every sweet food from your plate. According to current scientific evidence, is yes. Whole fruits are generally considered a healthy part of a balanced diet, even for many people living with cancer. Although fruits contain natural sugars, they also provide a wide range of nutrients that may support overall health. Think about some of the sweetest fruits people enjoy. Ripe peaches, strawberries, blueberries, watermelon, mangoes, grapes, or cherries. Their sweetness often makes people nervous, but focusing only on the sugar means ignoring everything else those foods provide. Whole fruits are much more than sugar. They contain dietary fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and plant compounds known as polyphenol. These natural compounds have been widely studied because they may help reduce inflammation, support a healthier gut microbiome, and strengthen the body's natural defense systems. This is why nutrition experts emphasize looking at the entire food, not just one ingredient. For example, when you eat a piece of fruit, the natural fiber slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. At the same time, the antioxidants and beneficial plant chemicals may help protect healthy cells from damage caused by oxidative stress. Researchers have also explored how these nutrients may influence the environment inside the body. While no single fruit can prevent or cure cancer, a diet rich in colorful fruits and vegetables has consistently been linked with better long-term health outcomes. Large population studies involving hundreds of thousands of participants have repeatedly shown an interesting pattern. People who regularly consume more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and other plant-based foods often have a lower risk of developing several different types of cancer compared with those who eat very little of these foods. This doesn't mean fruits act like medicine on their own. Instead, they become part of an overall healthy dietary pattern that supports normal body functions, helps control inflammation, and provides nutrients the immune system depends on. Let's look at a few examples. Take tomatoes. Although many people think of tomatoes as vegetables, they're technically a fruit. A ripe tomato contains natural sugar, giving it a mild sweetness. Yet tomatoes are also rich in lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that has attracted significant scientific attention. Several observational studies have found that people who regularly consume tomato products, especially cooked tomatoes like tomato sauce, may have a lower risk of prostate cancer. While researchers continue studying exactly why, it's clear that the health effects of tomatoes cannot be judged simply by their sugar content. Now consider strawberries. A cup of strawberries contains natural sugars, but it also delivers vitamin C, fiber, and numerous antioxidant compounds. Research has suggested that diets including berries may be associated with a reduced risk of certain cancers, particularly when combined with an overall healthy lifestyle. Blueberries offer another excellent example. Despite being naturally sweet, blueberries are packed with anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for their deep blue color. Scientists have investigated these compounds for their potential role in reducing oxidative stress and supporting healthy immune function. Again, the important message is that sweetness alone doesn't determine whether a food is healthy or harmful. Nature packages fruit differently than processed desserts or sugary beverages. Whole fruits contain a combination of nutrients working together, while highly processed foods often provide large amounts of added sugar with very little fiber or nutritional value. That's a major difference. When researchers evaluate healthy eating patterns, they consistently find benefits from diets rich in whole plant foods, not from eliminating every naturally sweet food. So instead of fearing fruit because it contains sugar, it's more helpful to focus on choosing whole, minimally processed foods as part of a balanced diet. One fruit that almost everyone knows is the apple. You've probably heard the old saying, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." While that phrase isn't a scientific guarantee, apples are certainly packed with nutrients that can support good health. Yes, apples contain natural sugar. A medium-sized apple may provide around 18 to 20 grams of naturally occurring sugar. At first glance, that number may sound high, especially if you're only looking at sugar content. But that's only part of the story. Apples are also an excellent source of dietary fiber, vitamin C, and beneficial plant compounds such as flavonoids. These nutrients work together to support digestive health, reduce inflammation, and help protect cells from oxidative damage. Several observational studies have even found that people who regularly eat apples tend to have a lower risk of developing certain cancers, including lung cancer. While these studies don't prove that apples prevent cancer, they do suggest that including whole fruits as part of a healthy diet may contribute to better long-term health. Now let's talk about peaches, nectarines, apricots, and plums. These colorful fruits belong to what's known as the stone fruit family. During the summer, they're naturally juicy, flavorful, and sweet because they contain natural fruit sugars. However, they're also rich in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. Researchers studying large populations have observed that higher consumption of these fruits is associated with a reduced risk of certain cancers, particularly some forms of breast cancer. Again, this doesn't mean these fruits are a cure. Instead, they appear to be part of dietary patterns that support overall health. This brings us back to one important lesson. Looking only at the sugar content of a food gives an incomplete picture. The body doesn't respond to a whole apple the same way it responds to a sugary soft drink or heavily processed dessert. Whole fruits contain fiber and many beneficial nutrients that influence digestion, blood sugar response, and overall health in ways that refined sugar alone does not. That's why nutrition experts encourage people to evaluate foods based on their complete nutritional profile, rather than focusing on a single ingredient. Now let's return to the original question. Does sugar feed cancer? Technically, cancer cells do use glucose for energy, but so does every healthy cell in your body. Your brain depends on glucose. Your muscles need glucose. Your immune system also relies on glucose to function effectively. Simply eating sugar doesn't automatically make cancer grow faster. Likewise, removing every source of sugar doesn't stop cancer cells from finding fuel, because your body can naturally produce glucose whenever it's needed. The bigger picture is much more important. Research suggests that overall dietary quality, maintaining a healthy body weight, staying physically active, reducing chronic inflammation, and supporting normal immune function are far more meaningful factors than completely avoiding naturally sweet foods. That's why many healthcare professionals recommend building meals around whole foods, vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, healthy fats, and quality sources of protein, instead of following extreme dietary restrictions based on myths. Of course, this doesn't mean unlimited sugar is healthy. Highly processed foods and beverages that contain large amounts of added sugar should still be consumed in moderation as part of a balanced diet. Excessive added sugar may contribute to obesity, diabetes, and other chronic conditions that can negatively affect overall health. But natural sugars found inside whole fruits are different because they're packaged together with fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and other beneficial plant compounds. So rather than fearing every sweet-tasting fruit, it's far more helpful to focus on eating a balanced, nutrient-rich diet based on evidence rather than misinformation. The most important takeaway is simple. Don't let common myths prevent you from enjoying healthy whole foods that may actually support your body's natural defenses. If you found this explanation helpful and enjoy learning about health topics backed by scientific evidence, make sure to subscribe and join us for more videos where we separate medical facts from popular myths. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.